This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations, more time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at accenture.com/Spotify.
When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
Hello and welcome to The Shift, the podcast that aims to tell the no-holds-barred truth about being a woman post-40. Created and hosted by me, writer and broadcaster, Sam Baker. I can't remember the first time I met my friend Clare Grogan, but like many Gen-Xers, I do remember the first time I saw her in the cult movie Gregory's Girl. And then later that same year, on Top of the Pops, with Altered Images, performing the band's top 10 hits, Happy Birthday and I Could Be Happy. Still in her teens, she was living a life the rest of us could only dream of. Until at 25, with 3 top 10 albums under her belt, she left it all behind so she could, as she puts it, feel where I came from again. Since then, she's had countless presenting and acting roles in everything from Eastenders to Skins. And now, 38 years after her last album, she's back with a new Altered Images album, Mascara Streakz.
You know, I kept on saying to my sisters, this is really annoying because all this shit is getting in the way of me having a good time.
Claire zoomed in to talk about deciding where you want to go in life, doing every show like it might be your last, and being back on the road at 60. We discussed the unexpected impact of her daughter hitting the age she was when Altered Images hit the big time, her difficult 40s, and why it's never too late to start a band. Well, thank you for coming on The Shift, Claire.
Thank you for having me, Sam.
I was going to say you're back. You're not back because you never went away. But before we go back, let's start by talking about Mascara Streakz and why now?
I think, like a lot of sort of creative people that found themselves with this sudden halt in all proceedings.
Yeah.
I mean, I was actually in Scotland at Pitlochry. I just opened in Barefoot in the Park and was transferring to the Lyceum. We opened on the Saturday and closed on the Monday, that March 2020. And I honestly, at the time, it was disappointing, but I was saying to the cast and the director and everyone, listen, I'll see you in a couple of months. I really honestly thought we'd pick up from there. Of course, how wrong was I? So, you know, that first lockdown, Sam, I have to say I really enjoyed being at home and not on the move because quite often I'm on the move. So that was really lovely. And, you know, I did just kind of relax into it quite quickly. I was quite surprised and it really cleared my head. I mean, once I'd watched every, box set known to man, I suddenly went, well, I've got some space in my head to think about where I want to go with what I'm doing in life. Because sometimes you don't even realise you're caught up in a sort of pattern that there's nothing wrong with it. But when you have the chance to slightly reflect on it and go, maybe I really need to shake things up a bit. So I suddenly became, in the second lockdown, totally overwhelmed and compelled, in fact, to start writing songs again on a kind of obsessive level, which it took me by surprise. So, yeah, I think it was just kind of a very long-winded story I just suddenly found the headspace.
Because like when you were saying about how you were always on the move, I was thinking that, on the move, it does feel like who you are, that kind of always doing stuff, doing a bit of this and a bit of that and busy. And so was it a bit of a shock to not be?
Yeah, but it ended up being a pleasant surprise. I mean, I am an absolute nomad at heart. I realised that about myself. And do you know what it is? I honestly never really view myself as a competitive person, Sam, and I really genuinely don't. So one of the great things about that first lockdown was, all my contemporaries, no one was able to do anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I felt very secure in the knowledge that I'm not the only one not working.
Yeah.
And that kind of took me by surprise as well, because I don't really view myself like that. So I learned a lot about myself. I thought, this is okay. But the minute people started working again and doing things, I was like, okay, I have to, at least attempt to get back to what I've been doing. And of course, there were so many false starts with all of that, Sam, so many shows that we tried to make work that you couldn't make work. I mean, I think as our industry really, really suffered, and it's still suffering. And I find that really upsetting.
You've managed to get back out touring, haven't you?
Yes. I did an arena tour last December with the Human League, opening for them. And that was amazing fun. I can't tell you. But at that point, we were in a bubble. So I did this massive, big, exciting tour with a band I've known for a very long time and admired forever. And I was never in the same room as them at the same time throughout that tour, because we all decided we stayed in our bubbles. And at first it was quite weird. And then it just seemed absolutely the right thing to do. We wanted to protect Phil for the most in many ways, and the rest of the Human League. And because there was so much at stake, and a lot of the big tours at that point were going out in a bit of a limb because there was no insurance for this if anyone got COVID. We were all stuffed if that happened.
Oh, God.
So, yeah. It's completely mental, and it still is a bit. But, first it seemed quite weird. And then my band and myself, we just ended up having an absolute laugh. We really did, because we had to. And it was a kind of real bonding experience as well for us. That was great. And then I did a tour in March and April, which went really well, sold out most places. And over the summer, I'll be doing festivals and then playing the Liquid Rooms in September, I think. And it's extraordinary. I just didn't expect this to happen the way it has. I really didn't.
Do you still get a massive kick out of it?
Huge.
You look like you do when you're on stage. You always look like you're having the best time.
When I say to people, I actually almost do every show like it might be my last opportunity. And I don't mean that in a sort of, gloomy way, but that is what the pandemic taught me. It was a bit like anything could happen to make this not happen, So I just decided I was going to really enjoy it. And also the absolute commitment of people that came back, who were willing to put whatever kind of concerns they had about being in a room with lots of people. I just think, they've made this decision, and we're going to go on that stage and make them not regret it.
What do you think, 18, 19-year-old you who was like catapulted to fame, what do you think she would think of, oh my God, 60-year-old Clare giving it her all on the stage now? I
think she would have thought it was fucking weird. And maybe not quite right.
Well, indecorous, you mean?
It's just like, what are you thinking? I mean, I actually remember when I first got asked back to perform Altered Images songs again. It was in 2002. And at that point, I was still in my 40s. And I thought, I'm not sure if this is going to work for me in my 40s. I don't know if it's... But anyway, I did do it. And I loved it. And it's just gone from there. It really is. I mean, but I did genuinely have to have my arm twisted a bit back in 2002. And I'm glad that I did have that, that I was pushed into it slightly, because it's been a really, really great experience.
Did you find that like your 40s were maybe a decade where you worried more about that stuff? That kind of in your 40s, you might have been like, oh, is that a thing I want to do? That's not very cool. Whereas once I got into my 50s, I stopped giving a shit about all of that and just did what I wanted to do and what I enjoyed.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is a really good point, Sam. I think there was a huge element now of me thinking I'm not the least bit over concerned about how people view this now. But I think, you and I were, we knew each other back then. And I think it's kind of quite well known the difficulties I had in terms of my fertility and, wanting to be a mum. And I managed that at 43. So to a certain extent, I think it suddenly made me feel, for Ellie's sake, it made me want to hang on to the kind of youthful exuberance of what being in a band gives to you in life. And I wanted Ellie to see me as that person, I suppose. That was going on subconsciously. So, it was just like, it would be a shame if Ellie had never known me as this performing, singing person. And I just thought it would be really nice for her to see that. Does that make any sense? I don't know.
Yeah, totally. It totally does. I mean, how old is Ellie? She's 16 now.
17. She's going to be 18 in December.
Oh, yeah. Holy shit. When we moved, I found a picture of her in our kitchen drawer and she must have been 1.
Because I always remember this. I'm pretty sure in Red, you did a freebie of a sarong, a kind of wraparound.
Yes, it was wearing sarong. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And Ellie, who I could barely get to wear clothes because she was just one of those kids that overheated all the time. But one day I wrapped that sarong around her and she loved it. And she wore it non-stop for like a whole summer. So thank you.
Oh, excellent value.
Managed to barely wear clothes. Yeah, she's a fabulous girl. I'm a bit biased, but yeah.
Oh, I mean, like you said, you wanted to perform because you wanted her to know that but has her becoming a teenager and kind of hitting the age that you were at when you were first in Altered Images, has that kind of affected you, do you think?
Hugely. I mean, I think that's a big part of the whole Mascara Streakz thing. For the album, for a lot of the songs, I sort of revisited songs that I was listening to at that age. And also I couldn't get over that being that age and being so restricted in terms of what you could do and where you could go. I just thought, this is so tough. And our young people, I felt that hugely, but it also took me back to thinking when I was Ellie's age, I was literally in the back of a transit van running around the country, doing John Peel sessions and playing festivals. And it just struck me how vulnerable I was. And that's the thing that I've thought about a lot, that when I look at Ellie and she's a fairly together girl. And so was I to a certain extent, but also, just through the course of, being interviewed and talking about myself, which I love, which is helpful. Not really.
No, I can see from your face you don't love it.
So I did a thing, actually, it was with Dame Denise Mina, and it was about looking back at my younger self. And, it was meant to be a sort of celebratory thing. And it was, but also I was really struck by how naive I was. And, this is not a blame thing or anything. It was just, it was just the times, really. But I realised that I was just very exposed without real proper advice and support.
And you were the only girl in the band. Were you the only girl in the whole entourage?
Yeah. I mean, that was it, really, Sam. And, these boys that I'd hung around with and, had fun on stage with, they were my age as well. And so all of us were just finding our way to who we were in life, but I do think that for me, it became a very lonely place. It really did. I think it's changed now. I think that's probably why I have girls in my band now as well. Just looking back, I think a lot of this stuff is quite subconscious, but I do think that, it was quite tough being the only girl in this incredibly male-dominated environment I mean, a lot of the time I just felt like a bit of a pest.
Yeah, I mean, that's when I interviewed Tracy Thorne for this podcast. She said the same kind of thing. It was like that constant, oh, you're a girl, you can't carry that, you can't move that, you don't know how that works. You're, just a bit other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And at the time, I suppose, I just got on with it because that's what you did, but I really do remember having moments where, and of course the big moment was when I left the band, where I just thought, I cannot do this anymore. I just can't. I can't do that.
An amazing thing to do at 20, what were you, 25, 24?
Yeah, around that age, yeah. And I went home to Scotland to make Comfort and Joy with Bill Forsyth. And once again, found myself in Glasgow, living at home with my mum and dad for a couple of months while I made the film. And I just really felt secure and appreciated in a way. And I thought, maybe I've had enough of this wandering around the world, Of course, I probably just needed a really good holiday, Sam.
Yeah, I probably just needed to lie down.
Yeah.
Was it a thing that felt fabulous and then stopped feeling fabulous? Or did it always feel a bit uncomfortable?
No. I mean, I say this all the time. It was really great till it wasn't. And I don't know I grew up a bit, I suppose. And I think that, I was just exhausted, and the responsibility of trying to keep this band in the limelight. I suddenly went, I can't do this anymore. As I've just said, maybe I just needed a 6-month break. But when you're young, everything's so black and white.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
This or this.
Yeah. I can't, it's not like I'm just going to sit down for a bit. It's like, it's all going or it's all staying.
Yeah.
Because you had that total crazy level of fame that you got from Gregory's Girl as well, which was one of those films and is still one of those films. I mean, what impact do you think that had? Because you literally went from playing with your band to 2 top 10 hits and Gregory's Girl in 1 year, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, the summer I left school, I got signed to a major record label and made Gregory's Girl. And I think that I thought, well, this is all rather convenient because I really did want to be a pop star and a film star. This works.
Yeah. I mean, job done. Yeah.
Totally clueless. I just thought my life would continue like that. And I'll never understand that double whammy. I call it the double whammy. I really don't get it. But I just took it in my stride because I didn't know how else to react, Sam. It's just, and everyone around me was so encouraging and so great to be around. And I thought, I probably didn't overthink it. I just did it. But I do remember one day being at home and the phone going, my mum called me downstairs and I picked up the phone and it was my press officer at the record label. And he went, I've just read that you were in a film that's won a BAFTA. And I went, yes. And yeah. And he's like, when were you going to mention this to me? It didn't even occur to me to mention it to the record label that was in a film. What is that? I mean, everything's so different now, as you know only too well, Sam. Everything is a machine. Everyone's, working towards something. I mean, it wouldn't happen now. But it does make me laugh. It really does. And once the news was out there, before I knew it, I was in the States touring and promoting Gregory's Girl with Gordon. And I mean, I've told this story so many times, Sam, but we'd honestly arrived at some, American TV breakfast show. And, the first time it happened, they said, yeah, we have two of the UK's top young stars coming up next. And Gordon and I would honestly be looking around thinking, who's carry on? Who are we going to meet? And then we realised it was us they were talking about. It's just, we we had a ball. We really did. And I'm kind of glad we didn't take it too seriously. I really am glad. Because I think if we'd allowed ourselves to feel the pressure at that point, we'd have been stuffed. But we didn't. We were just too excited about getting to drink martinis and
on someone else's tab.
Yeah, and stay in fabulous hotels.
That was such a weird thing, wasn't it? It's not just fame. It's like a crazy level of fame. I mean, before we came on, I thought, well, just because you know it doesn't mean you can't do any research. So I was Googling away to see what I didn't know about you. And there were just loads, particularly in the Scottish press, there's absolutely loads and loads of headlines still now that are all about Gregory's Girl in relation to you. And there was one I saw which said, Gregory's Girl star Clare Grogan looks unrecognisable 42 years after film debut. It's like, no shit. It's so weird. Sometimes, does it feel like a kind of a thing on your shoulder a bit?
No. And it really doesn't. And I tell you why. I honestly don't think I'd even be sitting having this conversation with you now, Sam, if it wasn't for that film. And sometimes I think that film has slightly obscured all the other stuff that I've done. I've just had to go, that's okay, because the level of love and appreciation for Gregory's Girl is something that most performers never get the chance to experience. So I feel really, really touched by what it means to people still. I really do. I saw it for the first time, maybe, I can't remember how long ago it was just pre-pandemic anyway, but no, maybe about 5 years ago, and the British Film Institute, the BFI, had a screening of it, and they invited me and Gordon and Dee, and I thought this might be my last chance to see it on a big screen. And I thought, because Ellie was old enough to actually kind of get it a bit, I thought, this is going to be so lovely if I can see this for the first time with my own daughter.
So you'd never seen it before?
Not in its entirety. I mean, I'd been to lots of various screenings and premieres, but you kind of watch the first 15 minutes and you leave.
Yeah, then you scalp her, yeah.
Yeah, so Stephen, my husband, who you know, came as well, and Gordon was there with his wife, Shona, who's a really good friend of mine, and his kids, and Dee was there with her big kids, and we were in their biggest auditorium. It was sold out, and to be in that room with everyone around me laughing their heads off, it was really special. Yeah, I'm so glad I went.
Did you feel like you knew that girl?
I think essentially I am the same person. I really do. I mean, obviously you evolve and you handle things, and I've had a lot to handle in life, Sam, as you know, but I think that deep down inside, I am still that kind of slightly crazy show-off at heart.
Because like you said, you did have a tough time having IVF before you got Ellie, and then your mum died and your dad had dementia, didn't he? I mean, do you feel like now that's in the past? I don't want to put words into your mouth, but is there a sort of liberation now?
I wish I could say there was, but I think that, as you know, Stephen had cancer as well. Mm. So, what I really, really learned in life is you really can't take anything for granted. That a lot of my joy in life has come from bleakness at times. It's like you sink or swim, and I have had a lot of varied, incredibly difficult situations to deal with, as most of us have as adults. And, I kept on saying to my sisters, this is really annoying because all this shit is getting in the way of me having a good time. But I was just kind of joking my way through it. And I had to, I had, almost 10 years of tragedy and disaster to deal with. And I've come out of it on a level by learning to put that difficult stuff somewhere else so I can get on with the things I like doing and enjoying my life, even when circumstances get tough. And I honestly don't know how I've managed that.
Resilience, I guess.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, when I was thinking about the fact that you did leave Altered Images when you were in your early 20s for all the reasons that we've discussed, which I know, thinking about it now, it's like, well, that was just like mad. But it seems like, and I've probably, I don't know, I guess I've maybe known you about 20 years, I think, I guess.
Yeah.
And you do have like the most incredibly strong sense of self, like you two, from outside. I mean, obviously, I don't know how like little Claire feels inside. But I wondered if that came from your family, because you've always been really close to them, haven't you? And really grounded in Glasgow.
Yeah, I think that, and going back to, I think when I left Altered Images, I think one of the other big things was I realised I'd lost my sense of self. And it's so important. And I don't even know what that is necessarily, but I think the absolutely beauty of my mum and dad were, I was a bit out there, Sam. I didn't realise how out there I was until I looked back on it. And I probably still am a bit. But my mum and dad let me be myself. And, they were I've talked to you directly about this before. I mean, they were actually strict Catholics. They had a very high standard of what they expected in terms of my sisters and I's behaviour. But they also allowed us the freedom to explore a little bit of who we wanted to be in life. And in my case, I've said to my parents, why on earth did you let me do that? And, because I would literally just get into the back of a van with a bunch of boys that they vaguely knew, but, they liked. And, go drive down to London, do a John Peel session and drive back the next day and go to school. And I mean, I look at Ellie and she asked, and I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. So I remind myself of my parents' parenting a lot with Ellie, because I think, they just allowed me to make my own mistakes to a certain extent as well. But, they also said to me, it would have been so much worse if we tried to stop you, Claire.
They're not wrong.
Yeah. And they just had that amazing sense of what was going to work for me in life before I even knew. And they really, it's not like they really encouraged me.
Yeah.
Like pushy showbiz parents in the least.
No, the opposite, very opposite of that.
But they allowed me to do it at an age where some parents would have just put their foot down. And I'm so glad for them in my life. I really am.
This episode of The Shift is sponsored by Shopify. When I think back to starting The Shift, I can hardly believe I did it. I knew nothing. What was I thinking? I mean, was anyone going to listen? Not to mention the fact that I had to figure it all out on my own. For a moment there, it was almost too overwhelming. But despite the 3 a.m. terrors, making the decision to go for it was one of the best things I ever did. And it really helps to have a partner like Shopify on site. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, from big names like Skims to startups like Upcircle, one of my favorite skincare brands. Its design studio has hundreds of ready-to-use templates to help you build a beautiful online store. And setup is super fast with their built-in tools that help edit product photos and captions. Plus, it's all in one place. Inventory, payments, analytics, campaigns. The whole thing just makes your life a lot easier. And if, like me, it's just you, Shopify will help you easily create email and social media campaigns to get the word out. And if you get stuck, Shopify's award-winning 24/7 customer support team are there to help you. It's time to turn those what-ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your £1 a month trial and start selling today at shopify.co.uk. Go to shopify.co.uk. That's shopify.co.uk. Well, you weren't a stage school brat, were you? You were like a indie kid, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the Scottish Youth Theatre and I absolutely loved it. But, I was just, the minute the sort of, I was a wee bit too young to be a proper punk, but I was witnessing this and thinking, I get it.
Yeah.
This is me. This is my identity. And then, the whole post-punk thing as well. I mean, I loved Susie Sue and Polystyrene and Debbie Harry. They were my kind of girls. And it was just a joy to witness them being big and bold and being on top of the pops. I loved it. And then I joined them quite quickly. And once again, I don't know how that happened.
Well, I saw you, because I always thought of you as like kind of punky, soft punky, when I was when I was not very much younger than you, but felt like worlds away, and watching you on the telly and watching Gregory's Girl, thinking, oh, wow, she's got the best life. This is incredible. And then I saw on social media, I saw some bloke describe you as the original Manic Pixie Dream Girl, which was like, it was kind of the opposite of what I saw when I looked at that Clare.
Yeah.
It's kind of so weird because you never fit that box.
Yeah, I mean, I did get labelled the Pixie of Pop quite a lot in the newspaper headlines as well. And I think it was definitely down to my stature, really, my size.
Because you're little. Yeah. They're so unimaginative, aren't they?
Yeah. And, it never really bothered me. But then, I mean, I just ended up getting pulled in so many different directions. And it just eventually exhausts you. It's like, you can't get it right for getting it wrong.
Mm.
And I allowed myself to maybe pay too much attention to that, at certain points. And it's hard not to. It's really hard not to take on board everyone's particular take on you, when you're young and you don't have you just don't have the confidence to go, well, that's not how I see it, And, I started off quite bolshy. I really did, Sam.
Well, that's how I think of you. I mean, from knowing you, but also from watching you when I was a kid,
I mean, I was a girl with attitude, sticking my tongue out, crossing my eyes on top of the pops, I couldn't quite. I kind of loved the contradiction, I suppose, and even in my songwriting, I think on the surface, a lot of my songs seem really up and fun and jolly, but there's a really little dark undercurrent going on underneath it, which only I will know. And I kind of like that. I really do.
I was listening this morning to I Could Be Happy. Which I always loved. I think it's always my favourite. And I was really listening to the lyrics, which is a very long time since I have. It's not cheery. It's not a perky song. I love it. It's my favourite for all sorts of reasons. Some of them quite dark, but it's not perky. It's not a Pixie song.
It really isn't. And it's a song that gives people a huge amount of joy. And I love that. I really don't want to take that joy away. Sorry, Sam. I need a new. All right, okay. I just need to put this in because I'm running out. All my electronic stuff is all. It has a kind of sell-by date. This Mac stuff, and everything's kind of going
it's
at
all
once.
Gone through it. Yeah, always the same.
Yeah, but I very rarely, pardon me, talk about my song lyrics because I like people to take whatever they want from them. But yeah, I mean, a lot of my songs are about escaping something,
Yeah.
and I kind of know where it comes from, but I find it quite difficult to talk about still, you know. And, you know, maybe one day I'll be ready to really talk about it. I just haven't found that moment yet.
Fair enough. And how, when you were writing the songs for Mascara Streakz, how did you think the age and because it's how long? Is it 37 years since you've done an album, or did I make that up?
Yeah. No, it's about 30. It could be 38 now. I recorded it and now it's coming out 38 years, I think, after my last. Yeah, it's mental.
So, yeah, I mean, how was it? How was songwriting after that big gap? How different was it with the age and experience and the tough times under your belt?
Well, I mean, I have kind of dabbled in songwriting over the years with, you know, I wrote some stuff for Skins when I was in it, and they used one of them, which was great. And with Stephen as well, you know, he worked in the States for a long time, and I'd go over there and I would do some songwriting projects with him and American artists. So, I mean, I kept dabbling in it. But what was different about this is I just had this very clear idea about what I was trying to put across and say. And maybe that's the first time that's ever happened to me as a songwriter. And I think it has come with just my life experience and themes that I've been carrying around with me for a very, very long time. And I just kept on thinking about those big, crazy nights out that we all have when, you know, particularly when we're young, and the intense drama attached to it. You know, like the anticipation of going out, the getting ready, the starting off, it's all great. At some point, it's going to take an absolute dive. There's going to be a drama. There's going to be crying. There's possibly going to be throwing up, you know, and then everyone calms down again and it's all sort of okay. And then you somehow find your way home to get straight on the phone to your friends to talk about the crazy night out. Then you eventually wake up in the morning, and that's where the Mascara Streakz thing comes from. But I just thought it was such a metaphor for life.
Totally,
I really
yeah.
thought all those crazy big night outs were preparing us for life.
Yeah.
And, you know,
for the big countdown afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, it's everything, you know, in one evening. And the intensity of that. And I just love that as a theme. And I just kept on building on that and about how lucky I was and how lucky Ellie is to a certain extent. She might not totally feel, I can't speak for her, but what I certainly hope Stephen and I have done is created a really safe place for her so that she'll always want to come home. And that's what my parents did for me. They created an environment where I knew no matter what shit I was in, I could go home. And I think that is so important. And it saddens me enormously that some people don't have that in life. I feel so lucky.
I think it takes quite a long time, doesn't it, for you to really get that, to appreciate how important that is.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose you kind of know it, but don't really have a full appreciation of what that is and what that means to have. And yeah, I just, you know, Home is a track that I wrote with Bernard Butler and Robert Hodgins, or I always call him Robert, but most people know him as Bobby Bluebell, and Stephen. Yeah. It's the only track the four of us wrote together. And we had such a laugh writing it together. It was like enormous fun. But I love the song because it's quite joyful and euphoric, even although it comes from, you know, when things don't go the way you want them to, just knowing that you can go home. That place, that safe environment exists for you in life. You don't need to have the mum and dad attached, just knowing you've got somewhere good to go.
Yeah, a safe place.
Yeah.
Has that, working with Bernard Butler and different people and just really like flexing your creative muscles, has that kind of whet your appetite for more now?
Completely and absolutely. I mean, I honestly love the fact that I've got a 2-album deal because I'm so enjoying the process of all this. Again, I really am. And also I've got an incredibly supportive team around me who are just, just ready to catch me if I fall. And that's so important in life. And, exposing myself on this level at this point in my life is terrifying, Sam, I have to say. But nothing can stop me from doing it. I just feel absolutely compelled to see this through and make the most of it. And for me, I'm already in a win-win situation. I made an album I love with people I love. So that was it. That's it. I've done that. And what happens next with it, I'm certainly going to, do my best to spread the word. I really am, and hope people love it. But, people's reactions to it, I can't control. So I'm just hoping that people get it. And if they don't, fuck them.
Yeah. You will have, so you reformed or rebuilt really the band, didn't you, for touring?
Well, I mean, I think I have to really clarify that. I mean, the great thing is, Sam, I have been performing for a long time with a sort of, I call them a cooperative of musicians. They're all, for the most, Glasgow-based, which became this just really lovely, convenient thing because I was up and down seeing my dad all the time. And I just kept on meeting really lovely Scottish musicians. So, I think that, every time I play live, you can see quite a different lineup. It just depends. I've got a pool of about 10 people that I use, and they are all involved in other things. And so it's all about availability, but they're all great. And, we all work well together. My dream is to get us all on stage at the same time, which I'm sure I'll pull off at some point. But that's how it worked. And I know it sounds, I mean, me, and I've said this in the past, but I have never had a master plan. I have never set out to do something and had this is how it's going to work, notes. So for me, it's all about how things have evolved. So when I got asked back in 2002 to go on tour with the Human League, funnily enough, and Kim Wilde, I just, in the end, couldn't resist and all my friends and family were going, we really want to make Phil okay.
Yeah, you've got to do it. I had Dare back in 1984. You've got to do it. Oh, 82, God.
So that's how it kind of re-emerged again for me. And then it went really well. And from there, I've just been asked to do more and more and more. So I've just created a bunch of musicians around me who do the shows with me. And they're all fabulous and great fun. But, there was I'm just a hard worker, Sam. That's the other thing. And I think that's what people sort of underestimate. And that's actually what I'm really enjoying about that series, Hacks. It's just, she's just she's up at 5 a.m. No one can keep that up forever. But if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it the best I can. And having this, the young ones around me, quite often I'm the one going, come on!
Yeah.
Let's do this! they're all like on their phones looking at going, yeah, Claire, could you calm down just a little bit? No, never. So, yeah, I don't know. I think, I try not to overanalyze myself too much. Probably best.
Like, you've just had a big birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Have you felt any pressure? Because you live quite a public life. Has that impacted on how you feel about aging? Have you felt any pressure about it? I mean, you're looking bloody fantastic as usual.
Thank you. I think probably yes. I mean, I didn't think I would mind turning 60 at all until about 2 weeks before it. And I was like, I couldn't even say the number. And this is interesting because I view people as people, genuinely so. I don't view them as an age. I don't think because you're a certain age, you should be doing certain things at a certain point in your life. I genuinely don't. But turning 60 definitely tripped me up a little bit. And then I got over it. I just decided, Claire, I honestly, Sam, never viewed my mum and dad as being old. I just viewed them as being Pat and Patty. We come from quite an inclusive family, so it's like we're all doing things together. It was never like the kids over here and the parents over there. Sometimes I am a bit like that. It's like, would you kids all go over there?
Yeah, go away. Yeah,
go away. But for the most, when we had parties at home, it was all generations. And I think that has left a bit of a mark on me. I really do. And it's not because I'm desperately trying to cling on to my youth. It's not about that. It's about allowing myself to be whoever I want to be at this point in my life. And I don't view myself as old. I just don't.
You're not?
I view myself as a lot of other things that I won't go into. Yeah. But I just don't see it like that. I really don't. I don't think 60 is old anyway. I genuinely don't. I know that I might be totally deluded, but I think we live in a world now where we need to keep challenging what people expect of people at various points in their life. I'm not going to go away quietly because maybe some people think that's what you should do at a certain point. I don't know. What do you think, Sam? Tell me your thoughts on this.
Well, no, I agree. I just think that, that's part of the reason I started the podcast, because I'm just not going anywhere quietly or otherwise. But I did feel like I just wasn't hearing so much from older women as I wanted to. The women I knew, like you and like loads of other people, were all doing as much as ever. But it wasn't getting any airtime. Like you say, 60 isn't old. Like even 70 isn't anymore. They've got like the physical kind of things that might like get in the way. I don't know about you, but when I get up from this chair, I will definitely creak, and that's a bit shitty. But, apart from that, I just feel like I've got as much energy and stuff as ever. I think there are people who don't want to see it, but that's not my problem.
I had such a great compliment from Caroline Guthrie, who was also in Gregory's Girl, and Caroline and I see each other from time to time, and she's a wonderful woman. She's a great actress as well. But she came to see me in Glasgow when I was opening for the Human League, and I couldn't see her because of the whole keeping in the bubble thing.
No bubble thing.
But she sent me a text saying, "You've made me want to start a band."
Oh my God, that's so brilliant.
And I just thought, great, do it.
Yeah, you can go around the country with the Mascara Streakz album, making middle-aged women want to start bands. That's a big achievement.
Yeah, I love that. I really did.
I'm going to ask you the questions I always ask. Mm-hmm. What's your emotional age?
I'm not trying to be difficult, Sam.
Yeah, as if.
I just don't know what that would be. I don't know what the answer to that would be. My emotional age is whatever age I am.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think on the one hand, you're from outside, you're very, very youthful. On the other hand, like you've lived through a lot of shit. So a youthful 60.
Stop mentioning 60.
Oh, right. Oh, youthful. I
honestly, you don't think you'll mind being 60 until you are.
Oh, do you know what? I think I have got to a point where I really love being in my 50s.
Yeah, I did as well.
60 is a big number, isn't it? It is a big number.
You enjoy your 50s. But no, I mean, honestly, I don't know what my emotional age would be. I really don't. I have dealt with a lot. I'm proud of what I've dealt with in life because I think I've handled it all in a really composed way for most of it. And at times that was really difficult. But when you're the one that has to deal with it because there's no one else that's going to, then you just have to find that in yourself. And I think that I had to find that, and I did again and again and again. So I don't know what that says. I'm probably emotionally worn out.
Let's call it resilient instead. It's like, as opposed to emotionally knackered. It's like, give us a book recommendation.
God, this is so hard. And actually, it's funny the way this conversation has gone because in the end, I was given this book by my big sister, and it kind of absolutely ties in with everything we've been talking about. And it's called A Manual for Heartache, How to Feel Better by Kathy Retzenbrink.
Oh, yes. Oh, she'll be so happy.
Oh, do you know, I have it at the side of my bed. I love fiction. I really do, as you know. So I very rarely read sort of self-help type books. But this is a book. I keep it on my bedside table. I'm in my bedroom at the moment. And quite often I'll literally just open a page and start reading it. And there's always something in there that I can absolutely relate to. And it's a book that I've passed on to others so many times. So yeah, that would be my book recommendation. Yeah.
Oh, that is going to make her really, really happy.
Is she a friend of yours?
Yeah, I know her, yeah. Yeah, I might text her afterwards and tell her. What advice would you give younger women?
Work hard, because you get there in the end. I mean, you really do. I know that sounds really simplistic, but I suppose it's don't give up, because I have had moments in my career where I've just thought, what am I doing? But there was something in me that held on to that original dream that I had in life, to be an actor and a singer. And I've just always found that thought in my head and that desire again. And it is that sense of self. It is about remember who you were when you started this and just find that passion again. And it can be in anything. It's not, I don't think everyone needs to conquer the fucking world. I really don't. But I do think keeping engaged and curious and not taking anything for granted, and that's really hard when you're young because you take it all for granted. You learn not to though. Sorry, I ramble.
No, you don't. No, it's interesting. Who's your old bird role model?
Well, you see, if I'd admire a woman for their longevity, creativity, resilience, I would never refer to them as an old bird. It's just not an expression I would use.
Who's your role model?
Thank you. Nancy Pelosi. Yeah, it's not like I've not got some kind of encyclopedic knowledge of the woman, but there's something about her where if I see her on TV, I can't help but stop and listen to her and think, you're right. And the struggle that she must have experienced to become, the first female Speaker of the House of Representatives, I can't even imagine how hard she's worked. And not only does she work really hard, she looks fabulous. And there's something about my mum and her sisters who were always really had a touch of the Jackie Onassis about them. Yes. They were working class women who, would get down on their own hands and knees and scrub their kitchen floors and all the rest of it. But when they went out in public, they were super dashing, and that's what I love about Nancy. She just kind of reminds me of a lot of women that I know that are just taking care of themselves and making a mark and making a point. And you can be a mum doing that. You can be anything. It's not about big career moments. It's just about, even though, oh my God, she's got an enormous career, but I just love that sense of every day I'm going to get up and put myself out there and there's going to be a ton of shite to deal with, but I'm going to keep doing it, I love that.
What's your superpower?
The ability to draw a line. I'm very good at going, tomorrow's another day. And I've learned that. And I think that is a bit of a superpower. I'm not someone that carries things around with me. I've had to learn not to. And it's not easy, but it's how I've hung on to my sanity. I've just been able to go, okay, I'm moving on. Tomorrow's another day.
That is a brilliant superpower.
It works for the most.
All right, last one. How many fucks do you give?
None. You know, I mean, I do. I care a lot about lots of things. I do give a fuck about how this government is treating this country. And, you know, that makes me really angry. So, you know, in terms of how people view me, I do care. I like to say I don't care, but I do care. And I think it's important sometimes to take on board when you're not getting things right. And all of us have moments in our life where we don't. And I'm no exception to that, quite clearly. But yeah, I do give a fuck. I give a fuck about a lot of things.
Thank you so much. It's so lovely to see you. I don't know when I last saw you, but it's lovely to see you.
And thank you so much for asking me to do this, Sam. I'm really, it's honestly a really great moment to have with you.
Thank you for listening. You can hear a new episode of The Shift each Tuesday, wherever you get your podcasts. If you like what you hear, please do rate, review and follow, because it really does help other people find us. And if you'd like to support The Shift further, please consider becoming a member of our community. Find out more at steady.media/The Shift.